back, audience. Welcome back to my jungle. Hope you're doing all right. Hope you like my new cup. And today I want to talk about martyrdom, sacrifice, and betrayal. That type of dynamic. I think is very important. Sacrifice is in the middle. Martyrdom is, on one side, and then betrayal is on the other side. Okay. The first thing that I want to say that in this game of life, as it's happening, that's meant to happen. We're all going to go through this type of dynamic because we start off this game being naive, not stupid, but naive, which is different. Because when we're naive, we're extending trust, right, to the untrustworthy because we just simply lack wisdom, okay? And on one side there's a lack of wisdom, on the other side there's a lack of love, okay? There's two sides of it. But as you extend your trust to untrustworthy, you automatically create a betrayal, okay? So when it happens post fact, um, first of all, there's nothing that you could have done otherwise because there's no reason to beat yourself up about this thing because there's no really there's no shame in extending trust, except that naivete was that in this reality extending trust is automatically going to be met with the respect, but it's not how it works here, okay? Because here this matrix stimulates the growth in wisdom and love. That's what it does. This reality does that, okay? So by being a martyr, you automatically create somebody who's going to be a traitor. But during that process, you are being brought to those deep feelings of pain or pain, actually, fear, anger. That's one column, and another one is like a despair, right? You may be brought to these types of states of consciousness because of that event. Now, that very event brought you to something that you have there that you normally wouldn't see that you have there. Like, that you would normally see that there is lack of wisdom in your heart, and that the worldview that you're taking is not adequate and it's not right. Which this very event brings you to it. It just basically brings you to it, and then what you want to do with it. And of course the right thing to do with this is to alchemize it and face it, okay? Because now we're brought to the sacrifice. Martyrdom will inevitably create the betrayal, and that will bring you to the true sacrifice. And then you're going to have to sacrifice that thing that is pain or pressure, whatever you're being brought to because of that event, okay? And then when you're brought to it, there's just two things that you have to use: is courage and a surrender, which is a type of conscious voluntary acts that you and you alone embark on. Okay, your mind, your brain may be saying like, no, no, this is bad, this is bad, but you poof, you open your heart, or you focus on something where your brain does not want to focus on, and surrender to something that your brain does not want to surrender to. And so this way you made a sacrifice. That's the true meaning of a sacrifice, the sacro officio, the sacred or secret officio, duty. That is your sacred duty or secret duty. Why is it secret? Because, you know, it's done in solitude. And only you can do it. Somebody else can bring it, help you to get there. And in fact, the people who betrayed you were the ones helping you to get to that point, to discover that thing inside of you, which gives you an opportunity now to reshape, reform. And then, this way, you gain wisdom or love. It's one or the other. And to be more specific, because there's this masculine, there's this feminine process that may happen with martyrdom. There's a masculine martyrdom, there's a feminine martyrdom, and a feminine betrayal and a masculine betrayal. But it brings you to one or the other. One that would be pain, or the other one would be that pressure, despair, or agony, I suppose, right? So the way to deal with agony, which is fear, is courage. You handle fear with courage by facing it. And the way to deal with the despair is love. Okay? Despair is like blocked energy, depression, where you just don't want to move anymore because of that bad event that happened. You gotta meet it, face it, and surrender to that block thing. And as you giving your surrender to it, you're receiving the love. And on the other side, as you are giving your courage to it and facing that thing of the fear, which is at the deepest point is pain, you are receiving power. Power or wisdom. It's the exact same thing. I mean, we're using a lot of different words, but what is really going on is you are receiving, you're burning the sacred geometry in your heart. That sacred geometry that is infinite, universal, and it's never changing. You bring the infinity into your heart. Either love or power. One or the other, okay? Now, you may also ask, well, what if I use power on my blockage, or my courage on my blockage, and what if I use surrender on my fear? The thing is that it will work temporarily, because if you're afraid, for example, and you gotta make the jump, and you have that fear, and you're gonna have to voluntarily, despite the fear, make the courageous move. And if you say, well, I'm too afraid, then love can make you not be afraid, and say basically, well, you don't have to do this. It's all good. And so that you will move away from the thing that brings you fear and into the safety of love. And that temporarily will work to alleviate the fear, but you have not crossed it. Okay? So there is going to be a temporary thing, and life will bring you again this same precipice, which you're going to have to jump the next time. And if you're going to skip that one, then it's going to bring you another one and another one, and it's going to keep on bringing you until you decide that, okay, I had enough. I'm making courageous move. So life is like that, really. Through all this complexity that is happening, it's really nice to simplify everything and say, like, well, in this game, there's like 1 or the 0. The answer to everything is through either courage or surrender. Okay, I'm talking about emotionally here. Okay, um, and I don't want to go, for the sake of this video, not to be too long, into the mind and the body, but let's just keep it at the heart. Okay, so as you can see, you may say that martyrdom is kind of cute, because it's like innocent, because you're doing something, you extend the trust, but you're naive, and and of course you're gonna be betrayed, and it's kind of cute. It's that's all I have to say. It's just cute. Um, and the lesson is not that you don't ever extend the trust anymore. The lesson is that you gotta gain the wisdom to know the difference, where to extend the trust and where to not to extend the trust. This extending of trust, that innocence, is beautiful, and actually that's the whole point of enjoying life. If you don't have the innocence or confidence, which I call those inner energies, power protects the innocence and love protects the confidence. Those the power is the father energy, the benevolent father energy, and the love is the benevolent mother energy, and they're both there to protect this chewy nugget center energies, which is confidence and innocence, and they're fragile. And so that those are the energies that have been taken away from you when you extended your innocence or extended your confidence. Okay, and so but those two energies are beautiful, and they're like childish types of energies, but that's what the creativity and playfulness is all about. That's the whole point of it. It's not to say that, well, I'm just not gonna be innocent for anybody, or I'm not gonna be have my confidence taken away by anybody, and you close yourself off. Then you go into the apathy, and then it's very dangerous to turn into a villain. It's not the point. The point is to gain those power and love energies to protect that chewy nugget center of those two energies of confidence and innocence, and then knowing and feeling when to you know uh, it's safe to be innocent because you have that energy is protecting you now, and when it's okay to give your confidence, or um, you see what I'm saying. Okay, there's this confidence is this boyish energy, and the innocence is that girlish energy. Power is that man energy, and uh, love is that woman energy. Okay, and the power, man energy, and the woman energy can only be gained through the challenge, which is the dark side of the father and the dark side of the mother. Okay, and so actually uh, that's what actually happened. Okay, but now that you have the power, the 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 feminine blocking energy is not a problem for you anymore. And now that you have love, the tyrannical energy is not a problem for you anymore as well. But I should probably say that, a different way. Now that you have love, yeah, I should say this different way, because this is what I was thinking and considering. Can you use this, love for specifically for fear, and power for doubt or despair? And I found out that yes, you can, but that's temporary. But the correct way for the correct way of using it to have like a permanent shift is that you gotta use power for fear, right? So then basically, the fear monger, the tyrannical father, comes in and fear mongers you, and you stand up to it with your power of wisdom of the truth, and say that's not the correct boundaries that you have, my friend. And so you set your boundaries and say, these are the correct boundaries, motherfucker. And that's power. And the fear goes away in you and everybody around you. And tyrannical father, you know, runs away with the tail between his legs. And with the devouring mother, the same thing. You, um, love is the answer. You know, that doubting energy, that discouraging energy, that whatever it's coming from, um, love is the answer. Okay, it's this love will melt that blockage. So sometimes when you go through life and somebody's like, you know, there's this blockage arise you and it just doesn't let you go through it. Okay, it's not the brute force that's gonna melt it. It's love that's going to melt it. It's you basically don't push through it, but you just meet it and face it, and just surrender love. You know, like that thing that you're gonna feel what that quality is at eventually, or what is love, the real love, that infinite type of peace that just like erodes little by little that block, and the block goes away. Okay, and so this way you can have that martyrdom, betrayal, and sacrifice experience once. There is absolutely no reason to go through the cycle more than once. You go through it once, it brings you to it, and if you know what to do, you alchemize it. Okay? This game is gonna keep on bringing you to it. So might as well just say, well, let me play it right now. You know, let me play it right now. And and these are the problems that life will always bring you, and every single problem you will feel it inside of you. There's going to be a certain degree of fear that you're going to have to use courage for, and a certain degree of doubt that you're going to have to use surrender for. And that is colloquially, or um, I guess mythologically speaking, that's your sword and a shield. The courage and surrender, or power and love. Actually, I should say that the quality of courage is this ability to put attention. The quality of surrender is to become aware. Again, I'm just using words, but for the specific process that's taking place on an emotional level. And the reward for the courage is power. The reward for the surrender is love. Okay. And sometimes, you know, you need both. You need both. You're gonna meet this challenge. You're gonna need to use courage. You're gonna meet that challenge. You're gonna use surrender. And you got to know which one, when to use it. And honestly, it's like this video game at this level has just two buttons. It's just two buttons. It's very easy to play. It's either this or that. It's this or that. This or that. And of course, there's another level of complexity. You know, the location of that energy, or you know, there's other levels of complexity, but what you do with it is always the same: attention awareness, attention awareness, attention awareness. And this is your joystick to play this alchemy game. Okay, there's nothing else that's going to be asked of you at this level. With the point on the circle is your joystick. The circle is the surrender, and the point is the courage. That's what it symbolizes. That's why, like, the symbol of point, excuse me, circle, and the point is your joystick. Okay. And not to just use words at it. Look, like right now, can you place attention on anywhere that, let's say, it might be someone discomfort, this nervousness energy that's somewhere else, you know? Can you become attentive of it right now? You can totally do that. Like if you find it difficult to become attentive of your nervousness, then try like, can I become attentive of sensing that this side of my hand? And you can totally become aware of this side of the hand and feel it. And there's nothing's touching it, but you can become aware of it. Who's becoming aware of it? What this part of you is becoming aware? It's not your body. And whoever's becoming, whatever part of you becoming aware, that is what I'm talking about. That's your heart. That's that point in the circle. You can point and say, well, I can become aware of this single point in my hand. Now I can become aware of everything around my hand. And then you fall into this like in betweenness, which is like this awesomeness. Okay? Anyway. Okay, so you can do that totally with your emotions. Nervousness. Become attentive of your nervousness. Then you become like, okay, nervousness, and then we center it deeper. Okay, I can feel it now. Where is the most intense point of that? I can feel, this is more like a fear. I can feel like a fear over here, All right, then go deeper. Face it more. Goes like, this is becoming like even more intense. And then it's eventually from the nervousness that was sort of like flying around your body, like, your energy, emotion. You can feel the emotions, right? It's body's not a limit to your emotions. Like really, your emotion is basically the energy all around you. That's your emotion. So you can become aware of your emotion. And like this is nothing to do with let me go on this idea in a second. But what I'm trying to say here, this is nothing woo. Can you not feel your emotions? Can you not become aware of your emotions? Can you put attention on your emotions? Even if you can, then that's it. This is why there's nothing vague, there's nothing abstract. It's very freaking concrete. Right? You may not see the emotions, but you don't have to see them, because you can see them with your heart. And so this is like, I don't know why this is sort of very elusive thing, and it's like, it's nothing to do elusive. Like, can you not feel your emotions? And if you can feel your emotions, then congratulations. You are freaking woo. But okay, so right now in this moment you can become aware of what the hell is going on, right? And if you've never done this before, then of course, like, if you've never ridden a bike, that at first may be like, whoa, and you may not want to go where it's taking you or whatever, but begin this journey, begin this ride, because this magical world of emotions in you, sometimes people say control your emotions, but that's not really controlling. In a way, you can say that you're controlling your emotions, but I don't want to use that word control, because it means that you're trying to kind of suppress it. It's like, no, this is more like becoming aware of your emotions and attentive of it. Okay? And it will always, you as I said before, I'm sorry I'm repeating myself, but you always like the point of surrender, which, for example, you say, okay, how do I surrender? What is this thing surrender? What do I do? Do I bend over or spread my legs open? What do I do? No, that's not it. What you do is Okay, for example, if I ask you the question, what are you without words? And that's this awareness that you're going to be looking for yourself without words is this surrender thing. As awareness. It's the word for something very specific that your heart can do. That's opening your heart. And you don't need like work or, like you can do it like that. You can go to this complete and total openness instantaneously. The only thing that can stand in the way of this is like the fear and this tightness that may arise. But for that you use attention. Also instantaneous. Right? And in this case, to understand, like to surrender, you can say, well, what am I without any memory? And your awareness is going to fall onto something that doesn't have the quality, that doesn't have any kind of memory, and there will be that quality of the surrender. These are just little tricks that you can ask your brain in order for your brain not to be able to answer that question, so the awareness falls through the cracks into what you really are, the bigger self you. Okay. Now, with the other side, the attention and the courage, because this is why, like, I have to say this, that if you're gonna learn this, go into the silence, in the stillness, you only learned half of the game. It's great, it's fantastic to be able to just go to that space. You're gonna be great at surrender, but life will still push you around. You're just not gonna give a fuck about it, pardon my French, but it will still push you around. You're not gonna be able to impose your will onto the reality, but you may not give a shit about it. And so I do not consider this as a enlightenment or like figuring out life. That's just half of it. Okay? It's great, it's fantastic. Every single person is supposed to understand how to connect to Holy Spirit instantaneously, because it has to be done instantaneously or not at all. It's not time thing. You don't need to practice. Nobody needs to practice. Like, who needs to practice to open your eyes, The same thing with open heart. Nobody needs to practice to open their hearts. Okay? It's this voluntary action that you can do. Okay? And the same thing, your heart can focus. Because your heart is the eye of God. It can open, become aware of totality of things, and focus, right? And we don't need to complicate anything else than that. You don't have to be poetic about it and stuff like that. I mean, you can be poetic about like what is between the attention and awareness, because the between word is gonna kind of bring you in between. And betweenness is where it's all at. This is why I'm saying that it's great to understand how to move into the awareness, but that's going to be half of the puzzle. And so this is why a lot of people learn to do this, and then they keep on, not getting what they want in totality of life. And so keep on seeking and saying like, hey, I'm so fucking good at this, but I'm still not there yet, because it's just half. And this is what I am seeing, that there's a lot of people who are training the presence, and people bringing to the presence and kind of forcing them to be in the presence. But that's, if you're only in the presence, that's death. There's got to be motion, desire, the drive, aliveness. And so this is why I see a lot of these people, the audience, and somebody's talking, teaching them presence, and everybody's just like, where's the joy? Where's the aliveness? What the fuck is going on? You know what I'm saying? So that's half of it. It's great to learn, but look, to learn this is the easiest thing. Oh, it's the easiest thing to learn, to connect with the Holy Spirit or open your heart. You don't need practice, okay? I'm telling you, just repeating myself, but I have to. At the same thing, the attention and focus is the easiest thing as well. You don't have to practice for that. You can totally become aware of it. Now, um, there might be something that, look, if you use this, I just want to say, okay, how do you become attentive of your center and aware of your spaciousness? That's what the heart is at the core, right? And so you use that eye of God, so to speak, which is your heart. That's how you use it. See, this is why sometimes you say, like, well, there's nothing to do, but there is something to do. This is how you use it. There is this joystick, and you have to do it. And we don't need to be, vague about this. It's you can do it. All this talk of, like, there's no one that can do this. Who's gonna do this then? It's all nonsense. It's all nonsense. It's there is totally, yes, there's a part of you that can become aware more and more and more and more, and eventually whatever is becoming aware and whatever is possibly to become aware becomes one. And so then there, right there, you can say your heart is totally open, and at that moment you are not there to open your heart anymore, because it's totally open, and the heart is kind of gone and becomes, the whole existence, but in that point you're like a total peace and bliss. And so anyway, okay, so look, the other side of it, which is lacking right now, as I see people teaching presence, but they I would like them to add this other side of it, the fire side of it. Everybody's teaching water, but this is why, like, it breeds people like a very maimed, castrated people, and that's not the way, man. You it's great to be able to access love. It's great, but that's just part of the game. You still have to be able to impose your will onto the reality. Your desire must become real, and if whatever the fuck you want, that must become real. You do not give up on that thing. That must become real. It's already real, and if you're not really focusing on it, and if you're not really driving the attention where the attention needs to go, then you are giving up on your dream, and the universe is not going to let you, and it's always going to create the problem. And then your little freaking presence that you found, this little safe haven, is not going to still protect you. It's going to keep on poking at you and bringing you out of that presence. And you may surprise, well, you're going to keep on forcing, the surrender onto it. But it's not the surrender that's the answer. Courage in this case. And so you got to know when to use courage, when to use surrender. Okay? So, and the courage is used is like this. There's all sorts of types of courage. There's this, the physical, but I don't want to go into these worlds. I'm just going to stay at the emotions, at heart. And the fear. Let's say you have fear, anxiety, right? What you can totally just become attentive of it, and you can totally, drive it, and become, and you will totally find that very, very, very center of you, which is like indivisible. That's we can call it individual. You become individual, which is singularity, which is you can no longer divide it anymore, and that is you, because you are indivisible. And of course, what else is you? Is this thing that is indivisible, divine spark, and this whole vast ocean, I suppose, of spaciousness is also you. And in between that indivisible point and that whole entirety, in between that, there's this illumination. And that's what you are in your heart. And this is where you want to go every time there's a challenge in your life. And this is where it's going to take you. The bigger the challenge, it's going to take you the deeper into your essence, something that is more indivisible. And of course, I have to say, like, when you become attentive about this fear, and then you bring it down to the center of it, then become attentive of the pain, because that's where it's going to come from, right? And if you stay with that, the point of 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 the point, and you keep on diving and diving and diving and diving and diving and diving in that, eventually is going to go into, you know, that courage. You're gonna max out, and then eventually you're not gonna be able to have even more than that, and just gonna goes into surrender. And you can go as deep as to the singular point. Okay? And you know, the interesting thing is going to be like, oh my God, like I now become aware of the singular point from which I see it as pain, from which the fear arises, from which the nervousness arises, and from which the nervous thoughts arise. And that drives my decisions. And I'm looking at this mofo right now. You know, I'm attentive of it. And so, and you know, it's like, oh my God, this thing drives me. But what you gotta do is you gotta, that thing that is just drives you, connect to this spaciousness around you and that surrender. And that pain that was driving you, now it's not pain anymore. It shifted permanently. It became merged. That single individual point, which is the maximum selfishness, is now the maximum selflessness. Okay? So this is why we're at the deepest core, we're, you know, this idea that there's only me, which is true at the deepest core, and that there's I'm everybody, which is also true at the deepest core. And then what's in between this only me and I am everybody is this thing that you cannot describe, and you are only you and you are everybody. And it's a state of consciousness. People call it Satchitananda. And it's, you know, anyway, Satchitananda, that is what they say. And they refer to that point in a circle, and you are this awesomeness. There's only you, and you are everybody. And so you're moving through life as this, like, okay, sometimes you gotta be everybody, you gotta become others, and sometimes you gotta be just you. And that's power, because it's when it's just you, you're imposing the divine will on everybody. And then when you're everybody, you are basically allowing everyone to move as they move. The surrender, you surrender and let everybody move as they move, and then you go into power, bring more light, and you let everyone move as they move. You are everybody, no controlling. There's no, you just go with the flow, as people say. And sometimes you become one, and you impose that will that is yours there, that your soul desire. And you got to impose this because it's already there, first of all, and that it's your duty, and you should not be shy about this. There's, you know, all sorts of ego tantrums that may be there, but look, if you are doing this work, then I end up calling work, but well, they call it magnum opus, right? The greatest work. And this is it. That's all it is. It's this working with your heart. You can call it alchemy. And if you do this work, then you do not worry about what you want in life and whether it's okay to have it. Because that question you should ask when you are still full of anxiety and doubt. You should ask like what you really want. You know, there might be out of anger, and there might be something that, you know, out of despair, and you're skipping something that you shouldn't, or you're going for something that you shouldn't. That's not okay to ask that question. But once you go and you transmute, the clarity will arise, and then you say like, oh yeah, of course I want that. That is me. And any obstacle that arises, I have to overcome, because it's non-negotiable.